This is The Toss-Up, where we take a look at some of the topics facing the world of sports, and then we dive deeper. Whether it's your best friend's fantasy team or the future of college athletics, we're just trying to expand the conversation. We just want to look at the topics that keep you tuned in to the beautiful world of sports. It's a popular question every March for bubble teams. Is it better to go to the NCAA tournament and lose in their first game, or make a deep run in the NIT or WNIT? While Indiana was disappointed on selection Monday, they decided to take the cards they were dealt and make the most of it. It has ended up being the perfect storm for the Hoosiers. Two of the all-time greatest Hoosiers have had 5 extra home games in front of record-breaking crowds, giving them the send-off they deserve. And now, after their 71-58 win over TCU in the semifinals, the Hoosiers have one final game at home to send their seniors off victorious in front of their home crowd and hang a banner in Simon Skjodt Assembly Hall. Joining me on the panel this week is IUS TV women's basketball reporter Dan Black and IDS reporters Murphy Wheeler and Dylan Wallace. And guys, this is a women's basketball team that has dominated in the WNIT, winning every game by double digits. How are they doing it?
Well, I think it all starts on the defensive end. Coach Morin said to us many times this season that when she came to IU, she wanted to be known for the defense. And I think in this WNIT, you've really seen it pick up. They've been holding teams under 60 points this entire time, and they gave up about 65 a game in the regular season. So it all starts on the defense, and that has led them to their offense as well.
Yeah, their defense has been great so far in the NIT, and especially the second half of this season. I think it's gotten a lot better as the young players have come along a little bit. But here in the NIT, like you said, Dylan, the defense is translating into offense. They're forcing turnovers, they're getting runouts, and they're scoring off of those turnovers. So it's been a big help for them defensively. And I think I talked about this last game a little bit, but in particular last game, Amanda Cahill, the senior forward, has been the anchor for that defense so far. She's getting on loose balls, she's getting in passing lanes, she's getting her hands in there. It may not show up on the stat sheet, but she's really powering this defense. But I will say, the entire team's playing well.
Yeah, I gotta agree with both of you guys. I mean, the defense has been fantastic, but I think you look at offensively, the entire team is getting involved. It's not just Cahill or Buss. I mean, last night, all 5 starters finished, I think, with all double figures, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Granted, they didn't have any bench points, which is kind of weird. But nonetheless, they all were contributing greatly offensively. And when that happens, it's tough for a team to sort of dial in or zone in on one person because, they may think, all right, they're going to go to Buss. No, they won't. They'll go to Penn. And no, they won't. They'll go to Cahill. They have so many options, whether it's outside or down low, that it's so hard for these teams to defend against. And that's really what's made them so difficult to defeat.
Without that lack of depth that they've dealt with all year, those starters have to play well offensively, and they've all done that so far in the WNIT. If it's not Buss, it's Cahill. If it's not Cahill, it's either Penn or Yaney making plays. And even when Buss, maybe somebody like Buss or Penn go to the rim, and they'll dump it off somebody like Kim Royster, and she has easy buckets there. So I think they've got a lot of different options in that starting lineup, but that's kind of where it ends. So they need them all to play well.
And Dan, I think what you said about how if everyone's playing, it's harder for the defense to kind of lock in on one player. I mean, you look at, when a lot of teams come in focusing on Tyra Buss, because obviously all-time leading scorer, she puts up 20-plus a game. And I think they come in trying to focus on her, and they kind of lose track of the other players because they don't think they're as effective. And we are seeing that is not true whatsoever.
Well, and you guys mentioned those other players. We'd be silly to not talk about Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill. Tyra had one of her better games of the season against UC Davis. Amanda Cahill was also great in that game as well. They've kind of just taken this team and put them on their backs.
Yeah, they have, and it's been no surprise. I mean, at the beginning of the season, Morin said, we go as they go. And that's basically what you've seen all year long. Even when they struggled, this team really got them back up on their feet, and they got them going and rolling. And that's how they had so much success. And, I mean, even Yaney said that, Tyra and Amanda, they give all the credit to them because they keep the mood positive in the locker room and on the court and everywhere.
Yeah, they've been doing it all year. They've been carrying this team a lot of times this year, especially as the freshmen have come along, maybe a little slower than maybe they have hoped, and now they're obviously coming on here at the end of the season. But they needed those two seniors to play well all year, and they needed them to have good leadership, and they've done that. Tyra's just really tenacious on both ends of the floor. You can never really knock her out of the game. You can knock her to the floor as many times as you want. She's going to get back up. And then Cahill's probably one of the smartest players I've seen play all season. So both of those, great skills for both of those players.
Yeah, I mean, it really sort of shows the impact that they have, because we saw, for example, last night, Tyra Buss went out full head first for a ball, diving out of bounds. The ball, I'm pretty sure, was probably going out of bounds anyway, but she had the tenacity, like you said, she went for it, and I think that sort of shows the younger players, specifically Bendu Yaney and Jalen Penn, that it doesn't matter how good you are, you still have to work, and I think that's really, at the end of the day, what those two players have instilled on this younger crew, and also someone like Kim Royster. I'm sure she's gotten a huge amount of help from Amanda Cahill this year, sort of, because Royster didn't really have much, she didn't do much the past 2 years. Now in a bigger role, I'm sure Cahill helped her a ton in the offseason and throughout this year, sort of being able to take control of that bigger role, both offensively and defensively, and it's been a huge help to her game.
I like the point you bring up about pointing out maybe a play here or there that you see Tyra make, and you could do that every single game. You could pick out a play from Tyra or Amanda, and you could just say, well, that's just the kind of plays they're always going to make. You're going to get that every single game, and I think that's just kind of testament to the kind of players they are.
Yeah, and what better people to play under for the freshmen than these two seniors? And they've developed it. It's crazy to think 15 games ago this team was 8-12, and here they are in the WNIT Championship Game. And what clicked? I mean, was it just that the freshmen grew?
I think that's really more than anything what it is. I think it's their final, well, not finally, more towards the second half of this season anyway. They've become more comfortable. They've found their groove in this game. Obviously, early on in the season and early in the Big Ten season specifically, it was all sort of a giant wave of something new. They'd never played that level of talent before, and now that they've been through such a tough conference in the Big Ten, really there's not much that can stop them. So now that they're comfortable, they're able to make tough shots that maybe they wouldn't have taken earlier in the season. Just it seems everything's coming so much more easy to them than it was early on.
Yeah, I think they're just a lot more comfortable with the ball in their hands now. You look at the beginning of the season when Jalen Penn and Bendu Yaney were kind of secondary ball handlers to Tyra Buss. They made a lot of turnovers, and now you're just not seeing that. They play with a lot more poise. They act like, they seem like veterans at this point. They've gotten a lot of experience throughout this season that's really helped them. And, I don't want to take anything away from the beginning of the season because they've both been really good defenders all season. They've been some of the best on-ball defenders in the Big Ten as freshmen, so you can't take a whole lot away from them.
Yeah, and when they started to grow, you saw the offense expand. They were able to run more plays, and then you see the defense, they're able to do more defensive schemes because everyone just kind of worked together as a whole. And I think that's kind of where there's a weird advantage of not having that much depth because these five players, they play so many minutes a game. They've been on the court the whole time, and I think it kind of helped them in a way to start clicking a lot faster than maybe you would have seen.
And those young players off the bench like Lindsey Marchese and Kiana Worthen, they've come along really nicely as well throughout the season. So that's really nice for them to have as well.
Yeah, obviously this team needs their starters to play well, and they need their bench to play well too. And I think they've had a couple games in the WNIT where they've kind of shown themselves and been there for the starters because we've seen Cahill and Royster get in some foul trouble, so they need people like Marchese and Worthen to step in and make plays. Coming up after the break, our panel will discuss the championship matchup with Virginia Tech, so stick with us. Welcome back to the toss-up. Indiana is now getting ready for their matchup in the WNIT Championship against Virginia Tech. But before we dive into that, let's go over to Dan Black for an in-depth look at the development of freshman Jalen Penn. Dan?
Jalen Penn. To most people, that's just another name. For the Indiana women's basketball team, it's much, much more. Penn came to IU with extremely high expectations from the fan base, and rightfully so. The Louisville native was the 2017 Gatorade Kentucky Player of the Year, a McDonald's All-American, a Miss Kentucky runner-up, a top 40 recruit, and a 2-time state champ, so it's pretty easy to say the pressure was on. Oh, and I forgot to mention, she's the first 5-star recruit in program history. Not even all-time leading scorer Tyra Buss can say that. Despite her tremendous talents, Penn, just like any other freshman, no matter how good or bad they are, showed signs of inexperience at times throughout her first season in the Cream and Crimson with the spotlight on. For example, early in the Big Ten season, Penn had back-to-back games with 7 or more turnovers, not a statistic one wants to be very high. However, throughout the rest of the campaign, her decision-making along with her experience grew as she never had more than 4 turnovers in a ballgame. As the season has winded down, especially in this year's WNIT, Penn has blossomed from a timid freshman to a leader offensively. Throughout the tournament, she has scored in double figures in 4 of their last 5 games. But scoring wasn't the issue. Everyone knew she could do that. What people wanted to see was if she could step up when it mattered most. When the eyes are all on her, will she shine or crumble? From what we've seen this season, she shined bright like a star and looks to continue shining throughout the rest of her IU career.
It's time for the lightning round, guys, all about Saturday's matchup with Virginia Tech. So we'll go to question 1. What is one key to Saturday's game for Indiana?
I think they're going to have to out-hustle Virginia Tech, because when TCU got physical, that's what IU did to get the edge, so I think it's the same thing.
I just say keep doing what you're doing defensively. Keep forcing turnovers. I keep thinking matchups in the post are going to hurt this team, but it hasn't yet, so just keep doing what you're doing.
I think really rebounding on the defensive side of the ball. It's led to a lot of runouts and a lot of easy baskets, so if they can continue to do that against Virginia Tech, they're going to have, I think, a really easy time winning the game.
Who's somewhat outside of the Cahill-Buss tandem that will have a breakout game?
I think Ben Duyaney. I mean, she has been thriving in this tournament, and when the play gets physical, she seems to excel. And she's been really aggressive lately. I think this could be a big game for her.
I guess I would say Jalen Penn could be an option here as well. I think Bendu's a good choice as well, but I think Jalen has shown times that she can really break out and have huge games, and at times she's the best player on the court.
I'm going to go with Kim Royce, the last one of the starting 5, just because she's developed so much throughout the entire season, and especially when it comes to going inside, she's really their number 1 option. She's a super physical player, so I think if she can get the ball down low a lot, she's a great rebounder. She can score inside. She's going to be a huge asset for them.
A little bit off of the Virginia Tech game, but we've all covered women's basketball this season. What's been your favorite moment, if you had to point to one, of this season?
For me, it was the 4 overtime victory against Michigan State, first round of the Big Ten tournament. I've never seen a game so exciting. I mean, it was just so up and down, such a roller coaster. It's great to watch.
That was a pretty good game. I think I'll go with senior night. I think they got a huge win over a good Nebraska team at home. It was a good way to send off Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill, even though they're still playing at home.
Yeah, I got to go with the 4 overtime game. I mean, I've honestly never seen a game go that deep, and just like the atmosphere throughout, it was so fun to watch.
Dylan's gotten to go first. He's stolen a couple of your guys'
Yeah,
answers.
really.
But as we near the end of our discussion, obviously if we want to talk a little bit more about Virginia Tech, you can. But what's your last word with this season or this game on Saturday?
One word?
Yeah, one word.
Resilient.
I would say toughness, which is kind of close to resilient.
Exciting.
It will be an exciting game. It's one of those games that everybody's looking forward to here on Bloomington. Crowds have been great the last couple games, and we'll see if Bloomington shows up to support their Hoosiers again against Virginia Tech. As the season draws to an end after over 5 months of basketball, I can only be excited about the future of this program. Of course, Buss and Cahill will graduate, but with Royster, Penn, and Yaney returning, as well as a very solid recruiting class, this team is built for the future. But it's also important that we enjoy the now, and the now is a championship game against Virginia Tech on Saturday. There's no reason why Hoosier Nation can't pack the place one more time for 2 once-in-a-lifetime players. That does it for our show this week. Be sure to continue the discussion on our Twitter page at IUSTV Sports and on Facebook at IUSTV Sports. You can always give any suggestions for the show and ask any questions you might have. Toss it up. Find out if we'll catch it. We'll see you next time.